Hello, hi. Okay, I just wanted to make this video because I remember being in year 13 and I remember being told to make a portfolio for uni. That was it. That was all they said. Okay, so making a portfolio in year 13 was really hard. They didn't say how to do anything, and that kind of left me in a little bit of a rut. It also resulted in me throwing together a bunch of random drawings last minute, but it ended up working. I'm here, I'm in UCL, so this is my portfolio, and this is basically what I did and what I talked about during the interview to get an offer to study MSci architecture. Okay, so So before I get started, I just want to say that doing our A-level is not compulsory. I think for every single uni in the UK at least. But that being said, it saved me. Like maybe 99% of my portfolio is actually taken from my art coursework. So in that sense, it was a huge time saver. And the stuff was kind of like pretty good quality because I was doing it for my grade. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to do it. Like I know some people who took gap years after year 13 and created portfolios then, but it's just, it's just nice, saves time and energy. Basically, the first portion of my portfolio is very focused on human anatomy and shapes because ironically I just don't know how to draw buildings. To this day I still can't. By starting off with a skull, I basically just waffled about the whole concept of space and negative space and contrasts. That was just me saying stuff to make up for the fact that I also can't really use colour, like I'm only good at pencil, so I kind of just had to bullshit that, but it works. The thing is, with every single architecture portfolio, you just have to kind of show an understanding of your process, which kind of comes through more in this second page, where I decided to photocopy the initial sketch of the two guys, and then I photocopied it on tracing paper, and then I overlaid it over the final sketch, and I talked about the importance of the process in the final piece. And then I also waffled about how the skeleton is essentially the architecture of the human body, which I don't even know where that came from, but the interviewer liked it. So as long as you can show some understanding as to why you chose certain materials or why you did certain things, that's what matters, because at the end of the day, the actual final result isn't too important. Like obviously you can't just be shared art, but as long as you can talk about it and you can show the understanding of processes and your thinking, they're gonna love it. So in this third page, it's pretty much the same thing, just with some acrylic to show that, hey, I can use more than one thing, and to show, literally that. The next page is the underlying sketches of those previous paintings. And I think I talked about lines here, and I talked about how in architectural drawing lines have a lot of precedence, so I kind of wanted to experiment with how lines can convey so much meaning and emotion and depth in such a simple way. So that's literally it. So feel free to pause and read the annotations, because they might offer some insight as to what might be useful. But at the end of the day, the portfolio is so personal. Like you can't expect to kind of emulate what someone else is doing, because then when it comes to the interview, you're just not going to be able to waffle as well. Just do what you like. Ensure that it's kind of good and be able to talk about it. Practice talking. Even if you're in the mirror, I don't care. Just talk to yourself 24/7 about your portfolio. So when it comes to interview and they chuck around and question at you, you'll be fine. Like you would have practiced talking about it and waffling. Like it's just so good. Just waffle. Get your phone out record a voice memo, and waffle. Around my 6th page is where it gets kind of interesting. So I look at unconventional forms and distorting forms, distorting shapes, and questioning conventionality, kind of. This was pretty much my entire art A-level, like final, what's it called? Final piece? The self-study, puzzle study, that's it. So I'm still sticking with a very figure-focused approach. This is pretty much the same thing, but I've just got overlapping shapes, overlapping body parts, using the exact same technique. So my portfolio is quite unversatile, like there's not that much going on. It's pretty much the same medium throughout, which I don't necessarily recommend. Like if you can throw in as much media as you can, that would be better for sure. But this just goes to show that if you're not very confident with loads of mediums, then you're fine, you'll figure out a way. So this piece is a combination of pencil, paint, and glass, which I thought was pretty cool. I just got my friend and I was like, hey, squish your face in glass, and she was like, okay. And I took a picture of her and I drew her. I painted her as well, but the final bit on the right is a pencil drawing. And then I painted my hand on a piece of glass and I just stuck it over. It didn't really have a meaning, but yeah, it kind of worked. It's kind of getting really spicy on this page. So this is actually me realizing that, no, it's not actually me, I'm not the skull. But this is me realizing that I need some form of 3D work. And what I now know is that you don't necessarily have to have 3D work. Some of my friends in my course didn't have any 3D work in their portfolio, but it's good to have. It shows that you have an understanding of how space in the three-dimensional form works. So for sure, if you can, do something in 3D. So to compensate for my lack of 3D stuff, I made a little clay skull in one morning, and then in another day I just sat down with some wire, I bent it, and I don't know why there's hot glue on it. I cannot tell you why there's just random hot glue, but there is. And I tried to replicate a skull, and even though it's 2D, it's kind of 3D, depending on the perspective you look at it, I guess. So yeah, that goes to show that you can really just pull anything out of your arse and it works. Alright, this last page is a little bit funky because it was actually something that I did in year 12, but as a part of our class project, I guess, we had to make a hand puppet based on a artistic movement. I chose neo-expressionism and went for Basquiat. So I made a cute little skull, and then I gave it little North African clothing because I'm North African and I thought it was cute. So that's pretty much this. And my interviewer was like, wow, she ate it up. So throw in stuff that's personal to you. Maybe, if you're ethnic, pull the ethnic card. Talk about your culture, its precedence in your life, all of that, because they love it. They love it. If you don't, then that's unfortunate. I'm sorry. So just to clarify, this was my UCL application portfolio because the requirements were 10 pages. However, for Cambridge, it was 6 pages. So it was pretty much the exact same thing, but I just condensed it all. So a lot of the pages were just on the same page, if that makes sense. So I think the main thing to take away from this is just do what you genuinely love. Don't think that it has to be super architectural, that it has to be buildings, that it has to be super formal, or it has to be super regimented. You can genuinely do what you love, because when you actually enjoy what you're making, you will be so good at talking about it, because there's no use in creating some beautiful architecture portfolio with buildings and stuff, but when it comes to talking about it, all you can say is, I just drew a building because I'm applying for architecture. They don't want that. They want to see a unique way of thinking, your process, your development, because in the interview, that's genuinely what they ask you about. And of course, paired with your personal statement. So go through that. Don't forget that, because that's important. That's what tripped me up in the Cambridge interview. They just hammered my personal statement, ripped it to shreds. So go over that, because I didn't. And I got rejected after my Cambridge interview, but hey, I got an interview, so that's something. Anyways, thanks for watching. Bye.